So the third person that we have in this section is Lucy Carlton Walker, who is creative director at Warwickshire Libraries, with her paper called Much to Do About Data, Evidencing the Impact of Libraries. So over to you, Lucy. I
Thank
can
you.
see your screen, so that's perfect. Thank you.
Brilliant. Can you hear me as well?
Yep, fab.
Yep. I just want to start by saying I previously worked for Newcastle Libraries and for Stockton-on-Tees, so there's lots of like names that I recognise that I haven't seen in a long time. So hello to all those names of people that I haven't seen you. It's lovely to kind of be back. I love hearing the Geordie accent as well. I'm like, oh, I loved being up there. Anyway, so yes, so thank you so much for having me with you all today. It's fantastic to be here. So I am the creative director for Warwickshire Libraries. As with many like services, I kind of have a dual role that I'm also a service manager as well. So I'm going to talk to you today, and you can obviously see what we've done with our title, Much to Do About Data and Evidence the Impact of Libraries. Oh, hang on. There you go. So we have in Warwickshire 18 council managed libraries. We also have 11 that are volunteer managed. We have a school library service still, so we're quite lucky to have that because I know that a lot don't. We have a home delivery service, and we have mobile libraries as well. And then we have the MPO. So there might be some people who know what an MPO is, and they might be another library service here who is one, but there's still not necessarily that many of us as library services. So as a public library service, you can apply to Arts Council England, who are the biggest funder for arts and culture, to become what's called a national portfolio organisation. What this means is basically you get funding for a period. It was originally 3 years, so we got it in 2023. It should have been running out, well, it should have run out in March this year, but they extended it for different reasons for everybody in the portfolio to 2028, and we're just waiting to apply again. What it means is that you get but it is really a status being a national portfolio organisation. It gives you the freedom of having funding for an extended period, and it means that you do above and beyond what the library service does. So it's fantastic that Warwickshire has it. For us, our kind of what we apply to do and have been doing over the last few years is it's all around reaching new audiences and communities. So we're focusing on targeted areas, which for us is Nuneaton and Bedworth, and we really want to be innovative and data-led in our approach. And it's around those high-quality cultural experiences. But everything we do is we're embedded into the library service, and it's creating something above and beyond kind of what they're already doing. I mean, what makes it really special being a library that's an MPO is that we're the only one in the West Midlands, and we're also only one of 16 nationally. So it's and just to give you an understanding what that means is there's 900 MPO organisations across England, and they range from like museums, galleries, theatres, all different type heritage venues, all different types of things, very large scale to the smallest ones. But out of those, we as library services represent like under 1%. So it's fantastic to be one. So just to give you the context of what we are and what we're doing. So why? So as I talked about, we have this MPO, and what we've realised was that we kind of had our activity numbers and our outcomes and all of our data at the beginning of becoming an MPO was very much living in different places, with different people owning it. And if I'm honest, not very consistent formats. We really need to consolidate them to save us time, reduce error, and let us spot the patterns quickly enough to inform our programme going forwards. As with any kind of funding, there was reporting that we needed to do. We have to report quarterly to Arts Council England as our funders. As a MPO, you have to have an advisory board. So we have one of those, and we have to again report to them. But also, Warwickshire Library sits with Warwickshire County Council. So there's lots of reporting that I have to do as part of being a council. And there's other stakeholders and funding that we get as well. We really needed a single trusted source to make everything faster, clearer, and more persuasive, supporting advocacy and transparency across our programme. We also really wanted to be truly evidence-led and data-driven, which means using insights to shape what we programme, who we reach, and how we allocate our resources. We wanted something that was compelling. It was a visual platform that helps us really show our impact and not just claim it, and focus on those outcomes that truly matter. So how do we do this? Well, at Warwickshire County Council, I'm sure those of you who work within councils have these business intelligence teams as well. So basically, when I first started in my role back in May 2023, I started having conversations with an amazing person called Sue. And I didn't realise kind of all the things that business intelligence do and how we could access their support. And I think from their perspective, people have been using data dashboards, but not so much for what we wanted to do. And it was more kind of around social care. And so she was really interested in how she could support us. And I was really interested in how we could create something that kind of was different and innovative and tried a different approach. So from November 24, we started having regular sessions. It allowed us to build the trust because there was Sue and Georgina in the business intelligence unit, and myself, my colleague Angela Chohans, who is the creative producer, and Louise, who is our MPO coordinator. So there was the 5 of us, and we needed to really build that trust and also shared understanding, because we really needed a dashboard that kind of worked in every way and to achieve its outcomes. We had to really challenge assumptions together and interrogate the questions we were asking, what decisions the data would ultimately inform, and what success really needed to look like. And sometimes, I don't know if this picture really says we're having a challenging conversation, but sometimes we did have to have some challenging conversations. We had to unpack like different terminologies such as IMDs and LSOAs, what we meant by creating opportunity, and I've already mentioned things like arts counselling and priority places, and make sure that those definitions led to a visual that really makes sense for our stakeholders and for us without distorting the story we needed to tell. And sometimes, to be honest with you, we just really needed to be able to kind of speak very open and honestly about what we did and didn't understand and the impact it had on what we were doing. And we were really trying to actually kind of align to so many different structures and strategies. And sometimes you just needed to kind of, really discuss them in detail. So then the next step was we created a secure SharePoint space, and that was the hub for what is the craziest spreadsheet I've ever seen. It is humongous. So all of our data now goes onto this spreadsheet, and then the magic happens, I don't know how it happens, where it then becomes this beautiful visualized dashboard. So all of our inputs and outputs live together in this one place. It's one controlled location. So before, when everything was all over the place, it has really simplified it. It means that there's increased confidence in version control. We know exactly where everything is, who, how, and when it's been updated. And then if we have got new colleagues, it makes it far easier if we're going to be onboarding people moving forwards. And it also means that we can really control it. So very few people have access to it. So therefore, hopefully there will be no mistakes or anything happening. And then we needed to streamline our evaluation. So we introduced a standard template and a set of what we call our non-negotiable metrics. We had to make sure that these were informed by the council and our funders, but we worked on usability and prioritised fields that led to real insight over the merely felt a nice to have, and also be really open and honest about sometimes people don't want to answer questions, and of course they shouldn't have to. And sometimes we do get funders who want really personal information, so it's kind of trying to make sure that you can always do a prefer not to say, but you're still getting the data that everyone needs. So we created what we call, as you can see here, a smart form with our need to have data fields, each of which is consistently collected and recorded, because otherwise if we didn't have this information, the dashboard's not going to do what we need it to. So then we started to understand kind of the what existing internal dashboards could do, and look at other Power BI examples, because that was something that was very new to us. We looked at understanding the display patterns and all the available functionality. She can have all sorts of graphs and all sorts of things. And we started looking at the filters and the drill downs, the export options, responsive visuals that informed our requirements. And so we asked for features that would genuinely support decision making and kind of not just look fancy and impressive on a nice screen. And then from that, we scoped out the sections that we needed. For example, highlights, event data or attendee data, impact and geographical data. And we really needed to have data that made it possible for us to track priority areas, as I've mentioned, Nuneaton and Bedworth. We needed clear sections that keep navigating, very intuitive for busy colleagues and stakeholders. So we wanted something that people could look at and really understand, not be kind of very complex, because obviously we want to share with lots of stakeholders. And so this screenshot is a little bit old now, but as you can, this is one of the finished pages. So we have an introduction page, which obviously just provides an introduction to who we are as an NPO and how we sit within the council. This is our highlights page. As you can see at the top, what you've got is the financial years. Because we've now moved into a new one, it's now, as we've entered data for this financial year, it's populated 26-27, so you can look at it separately for years or select all of them. And you can see here our total attendees in person, the number of events and activities we have. We've also did baseline. So because we were new as an NPO, we obviously had to start somewhere. So for instance, things like attendees new to library service, we actually we've put our baseline as 20%. So everything that we do, our aim is that 20% of people that attend will be new to us as a service. It's gone up slightly now. It's actually more at 31%. Things like total income. So again, that only includes kind of income from events, but we also get income that we have from other kind of trusts and grants, etc., that we apply for. For us, it's really important that we work with creative practitioners and creative partners, our social media engagements as well, and that has again gone up. And then the number of commissions. So they're commissions that can be usually ranging from sort of £3,000 to £15,000 that actual creative practitioners and organisations can apply for. So it's what we're then giving back in value to the cultural sector within Warwickshire and beyond. And so, yeah, and over time, this has changed and developed, and we're still updating it, and we're kind of now in phase 2. And I think you'll never get a data dashboard that just sits still, because it shouldn't, because you always need to show different things, and obviously it evolves over time. And you can see here another example of the page. So it's important to say there's a lot of editing and tweaking and reorganisation as well. And some of the graphics you can see were the result of much deliberation. So, for example, we had data about participants' postcodes, but nothing to actually put it into context. So we recently added this graphic in blue to put attendee data alongside population data across our towns. So the figures start to tell an interesting and also more accurate story of what we're trying to do. And it just helped us to actually understand what's happening. And things like, for instance, how did attendees travel to the event? That was quite a late addition. It seems a really simple thing to do, but it was something that wasn't quite there at the beginning of our thought process. So what do we do with it now? Well, we do lots of different things. I mean, for me, the main benefit is for reporting. It means that there's a one-stop shop for all the information I need. I don't need to go anywhere else, and I can find out absolutely everything. It's fantastic to be able to brief our stakeholders and funders. We use it at our advisory board meetings, and we can start to track patterns that inform our next steps. The dashboard really turns activity into evidence, which supports advocacy, bids, and strategic choices about partners, places, formats, and investment. And you can see what it looks like. That's my colleague's desk, and that's I think Louise looking at the dashboard there. And then what do we do with it? So we use it actually to identify gaps as well. So the dashboard helped us to reveal, for example, that we were able to spot very quickly that youth attendance was quite low, and particularly among boys when engaging with the library. So we responded by hosting podcasting and gaming workshops, targeting and engaging that specific demographic. We've also set up a youth advisory board. So the 2 young people on screen at the moment are part of that board. And one of the things that we believe passionately in is co-creation and production. So they wanted to do a tooth-tastic event. That's why there's giant teeth and toothbrush. And so that's what they did. And it's been incredibly successful. And it's actually been sort of gained attention from different colleagues within the council and things around like healthy brushing, and they've become part of it. So the data doesn't just describe a problem, it also really allows us to have that targeted action. And then there's the audience demographics as well. So what we're looking at here is we found out that there was a high number of attendees who identify as South Asian, and it really prompted us to adapt offers in particular libraries, because as you can see by the graph, we could see that the actual attendee versus our ONS data, is quite clear there, how we're engaging with different communities within our county. So we hosted a South Asian Fun Palace and developed a programme for South Asian Heritage Month, which we've expanded again for 2026, and you can see some of our fantastic activity in those images. So what do we do with it? What are our lessons learned? We've learned always to ask why we're collecting the data, because it's it's easy to collect things with not asking actually why are we doing this, what's the purpose? What problem are we really trying to solve? That is Angela's favourite question. What is the problem? Why are we trying to solve it? And then what stories do you want to tell as well? We know that the success of this system depends on regular, consistent data collection and entry, which means that there does need to be a culture change, and it is essential in libraries that all staff kind of collect the feedback as a priority. And I'm not going to lie, that is one of the issues that we have. Sometimes if you don't have a certain member of the team there, they're just not collecting, those evaluation forms, and sometimes even numbers. So that can be, it's not perfect. So that's definitely a challenge. Well, what next? So our data dashboard has established a blueprint for now a service-wide dashboard for the whole of Warwickshire Libraries. So we're currently in the design phase, again, working with our business intelligence team to design that for the service. We've got a prototype kind of back-end spreadsheet, which is currently operational. And I hope during this financial year, we'll be able to really get that up and running. We'll definitely keep evolving the model. We have to future-proof our data entry. We have to tighten the governance on it so the systems work harder for us as requirements continue to change. And then how's it been received? So this is a quote from one of our advisory board members, but we're pleased to say that this approach has been really well received. Arts Council England has highlighted it as best practice, and we've been invited to multiple conferences, including this one, to share our learning and our approach. And as one of our advisory board members put it, Power BI in libraries is fair and exciting, and it's a sign of where the sector can lead. So if there's one takeaway, it's this. Data isn't an added extra, as I'm sure you all know. It's fundamental to demonstrating impact and shaping better services, and to advocating for the vitality and existence of library services within a very ever-changing political and economical landscape. So you can see some of the beautiful bits and pieces that we do across Warwickshire Libraries there on those images. But thank you for listening today. I'm sorry my colleague, Dr. Angela Chohan, who's the creative producer, wasn't able to join us, because she has been the person who's really been inputting the data and kind of uses it in a different way to me. But that's it. So I'll stop sharing. But obviously, if anyone has any questions, I'm here and ready to answer.
Thank you, Lucy. So interesting. And I think, I'm from a completely different sector based in university libraries, but I think a lot of synergies around, evidence and impact, collecting data from different systems, making the data consistent. So you're telling a story that's representative and can be benchmarked. There's, I think, a lot to be teased out of it, regardless of the sector that you're working in. So really interesting. I know there's a question from Ord I can see in the chat already, so I shall just read it out. From which sources is the data coming from? Is there a need for manual input at any point, which I think you've touched on a little bit? And is there automation? So I'm guessing it's a bit of a mix, is it?
No, that's an interesting question. Yeah. So the sources, there's lots of different sources. So sometimes it's as it is coming from the evaluation form that I shared. It's coming from just people telling us how many numbers there were at an event. Where we have the commissions, that's where we start to kind of go into a lot greater detail. So then we'll get reports from creative practitioners and organisations. So it kind of depends. It's coming from lots of different people, but it is very much kind of like, yeah, that's the way it's coming in. There is manual input that we haven't been able to automate it. So there is my two colleagues, Louise and Angela, and it's they literally have to go in and fill it in. We've not been able to kind of figure out a way of doing it that isn't staff heavy. I think the thing is they've got so used to it, and it is just a spreadsheet. So for them it's just that it's just become ingrained that they do it that way, if that makes sense. Yes, or there is always a need for manual input. And also we learn that as well, it's a constant tweaking, and then suddenly when you look at it, the dashboard isn't quite tallying with the spreadsheet, and things haven't worked and stuff. So it's, it's still definitely, there's lots to do. Do you want me to read? I can see.
Yeah, go on then. I can see you glancing through. Go on, you read. So
I know Ord. Hi Ord, thanks for that question. Hi Paula. So do local staff look at the dashboard? So not, because this is very specifically the MPO. No, we can share it with people. There's only kind of me. I think there's only 5 of us who can actually access it. But I think when we come to the Warwickshire Libraries dashboard, then it will be wider, and that can be shared in a different way. So I think that's the kind of the aim for the bigger one. but then it's something that just sits on my dashboard that I can share at any point, and we can do screenshots, but we have preferred to keep it quite limited, the people who can have back end access to it. So hopefully that answered that one. And then, what ways have you used to encourage the cultural change in all staff to collect data consistently? Oh, that's a good one, Susie. I wish I had an answer for this. I think because we were the MPO and we were separate, so we were kind of a new team and we needed to embed into the service. I think it was part of a bigger journey that we needed to go on about people understanding kind of what this meant and what it was. And I guess, you know, it wasn't just evaluation that we're asking people to do, but a slightly different way of working. I think we've taken people on a journey with us. And I think now that we're a few years in and people can see the real change and I guess the benefits that having like an MPO as part of a public library service can bring. And some of that is just, you know, there's extra funding. And for instance, previously Warwickshire Libraries weren't able to afford like a What's On, so now we've got a brilliant What's On. So I think it's been a journey. I still think we do get staff who don't quite understand the importance of it. I think having one for the whole service will help that, because it's basically, if you don't put your data in there, then you're doing your branch a disservice, aren't you, and the rest of the service. But yeah, it's a challenge, I'm not going to lie. Some people really understand it and get it, but I think we're slowly doing it. And then yeah, thanks, Paula. Sorry, I'm just reading chat. And I think we are looking, I think because before it was the dashboard just very much for like a specific kind of program, but I think as we develop the wider dashboard, obviously, yeah, we will get the training, and so people understand really clearly why they're collecting and the purpose of it and the importance of it.
As you say, I think it's a bit of a mix, isn't it, between using qualitative and quantitative data. It's, you know, you can make those statistics say anything you want to a certain degree, depending on what message you're trying to tease out. But I think when you're trying to not make it just data decision only, it's part of a bigger picture, isn't it? That the data tells this bit that reinforces comments that you might get from people that have attended versus feedback that you've got through other channels. So it's enriching the picture, maybe, the data, than just being a single point of storytelling.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that we've developed is a really interactive, like we call it our impact story. So it's not, you know, it's not a really kind of big impact report. It's a really streamlined document that just shows like it is our impact story. So yes, there's the data, but then there's, as you said, there's the quotes. And one of the things that I didn't mention was that everything we do, we also try and look at how we're either changing people's kind of, whether it's towards their health and well-being, or whether it's to kind of how they feel towards the libraries. So we do measure kind of those type of impacts, and also things like the power of taking, you know, the films and the videos and photographs. So it's a collective picture. And also there's always the things that people, you just can't, there's no way of capturing it, isn't it? Like, you know, when you're at an amazing event and things happen, and it's like, how can I capture that? How can I capture the difference that is making to that family at that moment in time? So yeah, it's just part of it. But I think for us, it's just been being able to visualize data in this way has just been, and it's who you want to talk to, isn't it? Because I think internally with certain counsellors and things like that, they just want to see the data. They don't care about the nice stories or the nice quotes. But yeah, it's a bigger picture, definitely.
Fab. Let me have a scan through. I don't think anyone's brave enough to put the hand up, even from the people that you know on the call already. But
it's okay.
That's lovely. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Lucy. Really interesting.